but the thing is, like, one thing I forgot to mention in the last class is because some people were talking about topology. So I'm going to go over topology a little bit this week. So people are not hanging, you know, like how can I retopologize my character? So ZBrush, this new ZBrush 4.4, and now is actually on the patch 2. You have this very awesome Q remesher. I don't know if you guys notice under geometry right here. You have this new Q remesher, right? And you have a bunch of settings here. You have this auto mask setting. You can use like some masked areas, and you can actually tell Q remesher to subdivide and add more geometry, more density in those areas. So you have this slider. I'm using 2 right here. And then by default, the target poly count, I don't know, I think it's 15,000 polygons. So this is in thousands of polygons. I reduced to 10,000 polygons for the face right here. And then for the stiffness, the default is 1. That means that if you have any curve draw in the face, ZBrush is going to loosely try to fit into those curves. But the more you crank this value here, the more ZBrush is going to try to really conform to the curves, so like a little closer to the curves. What I mean by curves, if you go to brush right here, you're going to see that there is a Q remesher guide right here. And I did this previously, so those are some of the curves I drew in the surface. You can see always trying to find you know, a good flow for the topology. So basically, you know, all the muscles studies we did for the past weeks basically culminate into this. I mean, like trying to imagine how everything gonna work in motion. So, for example, you remember that the muscle structure around the mouth was basically, you know, circular, right? Around the eyes were the same thing, and then you have like those main wrinkles and those main forms that you can actually start looking and trying to find this flow. Same thing here for the cheekbone, right? The zygomatic, and also the, you know, the brow and all this stuff. For the ear, I actually added a lot of curves here. You can see I added like fairly a good amount of curves because the ear is very thin, and then ZBrush, when you use Q remesher, ZBrush sometimes get a little bit lost. You know, it starts trying to figure out how to create this border right here, and then all of a sudden you have this very low res mesh around this area, and then it's not doing exactly what you want. So that's why I'm kind of reinforcing it and telling the ZBrush, okay, you're going to do a loop right here, and another loop right there, and another loop right there, and kind of like really telling ZBrush to follow that. And by increasing the stiffness from 1, that's the default, to 15, ZBrush is going to really try to follow those curves. When you do this in mirror mode, you can see that there's a very faint line in the other side right here. That means that everything is mirrored. It's just not showing here, but it's actually all mirrored there. So for I already did it in here actually. Let me see. Is this one here? Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, I can do it again using the same tool, but I have it done already here. So let's see. The mask you guys just saw in there is some of the masks I add, just like to add some more polygons using the basically this auto mask here. I don't know if it's exactly the way it works, but for me it looks like every time I paint those masks in here, ZBrush really takes into account and adds some more polygons. Makes it a little bit more dense. I might be wrong, but it works for me. So I'm going to be going here and to show you what's the result of that. So using those curves here and those settings I just show you guys, I got the result like this. So let me see, poly group here. So it's a fairly good, actually it's not, this is the one I tweaked in Maya. Let me just try to get, for some reason it didn't record. I had this one done in here and I saved as a history, but I can do it again here. So let's see, with those same settings, Q remesher, you're going to take probably like a minute or two or something like that. In the meantime, let me just jump to, where is it? Let me get this guy here. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about silhouette later. So just going to go through some slides here, and then while that head is being retopologized. So we start talking about silhouette last time. I was mentioning about like clear body expressions, and then that's basically it can be achieved by having like very clear silhouettes. So I collected a lot of stuff from the internet. I can show you some of the links I looked for. But I mean, it's a matter of like even without seeing what the character is doing like clearly in terms of like having the shade mode, if you have a clear silhouette of what's the action, that can help you a lot to really describe it. So you can see like those are very simple images, and you can see what the character is doing very clearly. The dinosaur in there, and the kid on the top, and then or I said kid, but it can be like a caveman and the other cavemen's in there. You don't even need to have like the faces described or anything. Just the silhouette itself, you can already describe what each character is doing. What instruments they're playing here, and everything. Here's a collection of different characters from cartoons and comics. So yeah, you can clearly see, it's like I recognize most of them just by the silhouette. So it's very, very interesting. This one as well, the little dance right there, or little, I cannot say exactly what's the action here, but at the same time you can read the facial, the body expression. It's like this guy kind of going backwards right here, and this other one attacking you, or it's a dance or whatever. But at least you can see, how clear the shapes are. This one is inverted, but you can see like the guy in there, in the dog, it's like in the probably little kid by the tree. This one is like there is no doubt, that's the waiter in there. So very, very, simple ones here, just for you to understand what's the meaning of the silhouette that I was mentioning before. It's really to have like a clear line of action that those characters are, it's very self-explained. Same thing here, without seeing any other details, just by looking at the silhouette, what's going on, or have an idea about what's going on. But let me go back here to ZBrush. So this was the model that I just retopologized using the Q remesher. So if I turn on this one, you're going to notice that like it's a very, very good topology already. Things that you would have to spend a long time in the past, like to do in Maya or other softwares. ZBrush did a phenomenal job for what it is, just by using those curves. And the ear here got a little bit dense in the middle right there, but it's fine. But at least the border right here, it's a very, very good topology already. I wish I had some more loops around the eyes, and it got a little bit mushed in there. But for the face, I noticed that I normally have to do some additional tweaking by bringing this face to Maya, or if you use another software, you can go there and retweak it and cut and change the flow a little bit. But overall, I mean, like, it's very, very little tweaking. If you look at the nose right here, it did actually a really, really decent job with the nose, keeping all the form and everything. One thing I forgot to mention is that before I did this, I actually chopped the head, right? Like, so I selected the whole head, and then I basically made just the head visible. And then if you go to geometry, actually, let me get here. It's so hard with modified topology, right? So if you have just the head unhidden, so you can just like say, okay, I'm gonna delete hidden, and then basically everything that was there gonna be gone, and then you're gonna keep just the head. But before I did this, I actually selected inside of the eyes and inside of the mouth cavity right there, and I deleted everything. So before I even retopologized, everything was already gone. And the reason I did this is because I prefer to actually create this cavity in Maya, both for eyes and the mouth. So I just decided to create this hole right here in ZBrush, and then ask ZBrush to retopologize using this. So between this one here, that's the one I just generated, And this one here, you're going to see there's some adjustments I did in Maya. So, I had some more loops right here, some more topology. You know, in the mouth right here, you had like a little bit weird corner right there. I kind of like tweaked it to make like a complete circle. So, a few adjustments here and there, but like most of the structure I actually kept exactly what ZBrush gave me. And it's actually a very, very decent topology to start with. Let me just go back to this guy here and undo that. So that was the topology I had. Control H, you actually can hide the mask, so I'm going to just press Control H. And then you can see like all this topology was basically what ZBrush tried to follow for me right here. And then I did the same thing for the body, but the body was actually much better than the result was much better than the result I got with the face. Just by drawing those lines right here, one way, like the way that the Curie mesher works is actually you're gonna create those little lines. So selecting this brush right here, if you just go and you draw on the surface, you're gonna notice you're gonna create those curves for you, right? But you're gonna notice that this one I just created gonna have like some very, very wide stepping right here. So that's basically based on the size of your brush. So if I press, if I just go to the menu and I make the drawing size a little bit smaller, you're going to notice I'm going to have much more steps right now, right? So it's very interesting to use like smaller ones so they actually can connect with each other in those intersections like here, in a better way instead of like just snapping all the way down there. For example, if I do something like this, right? It's very, the snapping going to happen all the way there. So yeah, that's why I use like a small one. So once you have everything like this, and you have to go like to the cylindrical areas, for example, the arms right here, and then you have the fingers, right? And you want to make sure that the topology is not going to get like all kind of diagonal, because ZBrush sometimes it gets a little bit lost and tries to imagine what you want with that. And of course, if you're not telling ZBrush what to do, ZBrush cannot guess it. So it's normally very useful to just create those lines to define that this is like cylindrical area. And the way you do it is basically the same way you're doing just now by, like drawing the curve. You can start drawing the curve like this, and then you can press Shift, and then with Shift you're going to create like a circle like this, and you can see the other side as well. So if you release it, then it creates basically a loop that goes all the way around. Of course, you have to try sometimes, like a couple of times, to get the angle correct the way you want. You have a little control right there. This one looks much better now. So, the cylinder goes all the way around like that. And then you define that, okay, ZBrush, just follow this, create those loops for me. And then if you do this in the fingers right here, you don't even have to create like any line that goes vertically, because ZBrush is going to understand that, if those ones going to go this way, I'm going to try to create a quad for you. So I'm going to bring those lines automatically for you. So you see, like for this character, instead of like the face, I had like much more lines. For this one, it was much, much simpler, a fairly simple topology. Some of the main forms in there, I had some lines just to, tell ZBrush what to do. But the result, I didn't have to do any tweaking in Maya, and it's looking really, really cool. So this is basically created out of those lines. And you can see like the topology is actually really good. I could be like really and start like really picking some areas and tweaking some things, it's like changing direction in some things. But for what it is, it's actually really, really good. So, it's like very, very even distribution of the polygons. And the feet, by the way, I decided to not like spend too much time with the toes. So you can if you want, it's like really cut there and create the cylinders and everything. But I might retopologize this area later. But since I don't have in mind like an expression that's gonna have a body expression that's gonna have like a toes like spread out or anything like that, I just like in the high resolution I can just put this thing together and make it work for me the way it is. But for the fingers, of course, I did a better job with that. So just by creating those little rings in there, ZBrush already did a much better job creating the topology for me. In the back right here, you know, when I change the direction of the loops around this area, let me go back to this one so I can show you. Right, so I changed the direction right there. Basically, ZBrush used it and created the topology like really, really close to what I wanted. So yeah, that's a very, very good mesh. Actually, I think I did a little tweaking in Maya, but it was just in this area right here. I think I had a little loop right there because it got a little bit squished, but everything else was basically the same mesh. It's just that little area right there. When it gets too close, you know, it's like two surfaces colliding. ZBrush kind of has a hard time, but of course, if I had like some more support lines there, it would work fine. So this is just like, you know, to start just like talking a little bit about the topology, the way you can create your topology without too much stress and going back and forth with Maya. So that's why I wanted to do this, even if it's not part of this module, just to go over it. So let me open something else here. Body and head, current body, Z series, okay? So let me turn it off. So this is basically the current state of my character. I still have to work on the hands and feet and other things, and it's still looking a little bit too normal. I might make it look a little bit more like a monster kind of. I don't know. Still thinking about it. But anyway, one of the things I did, I actually, before I did the whole topology, I did a copy of my mesh. So like you can just use duplicate, you just can duplicate it, and then you can draw all your lines with the QRemesher guides, right? And then once you retopologize, you still have a duplicate in the background, so you can reproject all the detail back to your model, with the advantage that you can actually one thing I forgot to mention, actually, the head, to make the head connect with the body, because I made both separated, right? There is a very interesting trick, and I can point you to the link later. One of those latest tutorials, video tutorials about when they release ZBrush 4R4, you can see that there is the insert brushes, you know, the insert mesh. They are very, very useful. So the thing that I did to connect both here, you're going to see the topology right there. It changed a little bit. You see? So what I did actually, with the head selected, I went just the head, right? Like after I retopologized the head, I kept that hole in the base of the head, and then I just created an insert mesh here, right? So I selected then the body itself, and then there was still a hole right here. And then I just told ZBrush, okay, you can go ahead and just like close that hole. So you just like use the geometry, modify topology, and close hole. And then ZBrush created basically, you know, it's like a cap for that neck right there in this the body mesh. And then when ZBrush does that, it actually creates that cap as a separate polygroup. So once you have that done, you can actually, you know, with the body selected, you can just go to insert mesh. That's basically, you know, when you create the insert mesh, it goes it creates a brush by default right there. So the head was visible right there. So I clicked on the head, and then by clicking in the top of that little cap right there, you can just draw the head and reposition to match the reference you have in the background. And then once you do like a QRemesher, the same way I do a QRemesher by basically like control and, you know, dragging outside like that, ZBrush is going to actually attach both objects, and you're going to try to figure out the topology for you right there. So that's why I got a little bit weird topology right there, because this is ZBrush figuring out how to connect both of them. I'm going to point you to the link to that later, so you can actually see exactly what I mean by that. And it's actually really, really cool way to connect objects. So let me just go back here. So in this case here, since, as I was saying, you know, I had the the copy of this object in the background with all the subdivision levels in there, not subdivision levels, but all the high resolution detail. So once I had this topology all redone here, I can actually, I can just subdivide it, right? So I subdivide it, and then I can just use like a project all. So project right here, and project all from the background. So anything that's visible in the background, any subtool, going to be projected to the current subtool. And then I got all my detail back. So, but with the advantage, of course, you have all the subdivision levels in there.